Hi everyone and welcome to the October release by Altenew. This is a video hop where you can see the new products in action and you can choose your favorites. There are lots of giveaways to be won, so check out the details below. So for today I'm going to create a card using my favorite products from this release. That includes a couple of new embossing folders. One of them gives you a lovely background, the other gives you lots of sentiments. And then I'm going to play with one of the keyhole dies. I absolutely love putting together flower compositions. So although it looks complicated with lots and lots of parts, trust me, it's super easy. All the dies for one flower come in one, as you can see here. And also they do have that key system where there is something that looks like an arrow or a key or a couple of circles that helps you put everything together. So let's start making the card. For die cutting my flowers, I'm going to go with colored cardstock, and I'm using the red from this pack. And for the leaves and stems, I'm going to use one of these greens. So I'm going to cut out everything, and you can see here that I have everything ready. I went with glitter cardstock for the centers, and then I am going to add a little bit of shading. Now, since I went with red cardstock, I want to use a darker shade of red to add the shading, and for that I went with my mahogany bark. I'm using one of my shading brushes so that I can control exactly where I'm adding the color. I'm mainly going to stay from the center towards the top without touching the edge of the petals, so mainly darkening the center. This is going to give some dimension on the flowers when you put them together, since they're not going to look as flat. Another way to do it is to start with white cardstock and just blend in whatever color you like, or if you want to give dimension but completely omit the inking, you can definitely use 3 different shades or 4 different shades of the same color of pattern paper, so that when you put your flower together you get some variation on the petals. Now I'm going to put together one of the flowers, but all of them are really the same. All you have to do is just stick one on top of the other following the instructions, and just because you have that keyhole at the center, it's making life super easy. And I don't know about you, but for me this is very relaxing. I tend to do mixed media projects, but for some reason when I do die cutting with ink blending and putting all those images together, they are really relaxing for me. It's like putting together a puzzle where you don't really need to think, and every time the result is perfect. So it's really enjoyable. Now I have put together the flowers and the stems. Now for the leaves and some of the stems, because I don't want them to look so flat, just randomly I'm going over them with a darker shade of green, that's Shadow Creek, and I'm just adding here and there a little bit of a darker inking, just to make it look more interesting and not so flat. And my focal points are ready for the flower composition, so I'm going to work on the background. I'm using a craft colored panel, and this is the new textured tiles, a 3D embossing folder, which is going to give you an amazing design. I find it super gorgeous, and there are so many different ways that you can play with it. Anyway, for today, just because I have those bright red colors for my flowers, I wanted to go very subtle for the background. However, I want to bring all the texture even more, but kind of keep it subtle. So that's why I'm going to use pigmenting, and that's white pigmenting, and with a brayer I'm going to go over the texture, and you can see how it touches only the mountains and brings that design into life. Now it is going to dry way more muted as it is at the moment. It looks bright white, but it's going to be absorbed by the craft color, and it's going to kind of blend in, but you will still be able to see the difference. If you want, you can go completely more dramatic. You can use dark chocolate, for example, or you can go with a brick effect and use mahogany red. There are so many different ways that you can go. Now I'm going to stick this panel on top of black cardstock that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so I end up having a little border all around to frame my composition. And now finally I get to play with the Mini Sentiments 3D embossing folder. Now this is a completely new product to me. I never had an embossing folder that gives me so many sentiments. Look at that. Now you can leave it as it is depending on which type of cardstock you use. If you go with metallic cardstock, for example, it would look gorgeous. However, I want to recreate and follow the design that I have on my background, so I will use the brayer again and go over all the embossed areas to bring in that sentiment into life. Now it's really gorgeous in real life, and you can go with a metallic pigment ink if you want, which is going to give a completely different look and shine on it. So I left that panel on the side for that pigment ink to dry because it takes a little bit of time, and in the meantime I'm trying to decide what my composition will be. Now this can be the most time consuming part of my cards because I can just play with the elements forever to try and decide what is going to look best. So once I'm happy, I'm going to stick everything down, and then for the sentiment I'm just going to cut out one of those and stick it in place. I do have some foam tape on the right and the left at the back of this sentiment, so once I'm happy with the placement I'm just going to press them down. And I'm going to finish off my design by adding some sequins, just scatter them around my flower composition. The ones that I'm using are the sparkling gold ones, and I chose to go with these ones because they match the color of the glitter cardstock that I use for the center of my flowers. So that concludes the card for today. I hope that you had fun, that you got inspired. Down below in the description you can find the link to the next stop on the video hop and all the details for the giveaways. Thank you all so much for joining me.